I had these epiphanies and I realized exactly what was missing in all those books that I'd spent all those years reading and that no one was talking about. So that's when I decided to write my first book. It was entitled Permission to Succeed, because I realized for most people, we don't actually need more how-tos of succeed. We actually need to give ourselves permission to succeed.
Welcome back to the Money Seed Podcast. My guest today is Dr. Noah St. John. Noah is the author of 24 books, and he's been the mental health coach to the stars since at least 1997. Noah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gabe. Great to be here.
Noah, you have an amazing story. You went from living in your parents' basement, being $40K in debt, to being a seven-figure expert today, best-selling author, renowned speaker. Tell us, how did you overcome the hurdles you had in life, and how did you come out of it smarter than you were before? What did you learn?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started even before that, because I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And that's a total cliche, I know, but it's true. I grew up in a little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which is one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just 15 years old. So growing up, I had the painful experience of experiencing the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. And so I hated being poor. I just hated that. So, of course, there was no internet and nothing like we have today, all the resources and coaching, everything that we have today. So I did the only thing I could think of to do, which is I went to the library and read every book in the self-help section just to try to make myself better, just to try to succeed and get out of that lousy situation. And I read every book, in that section, all the classics. And I really, really tried to make it work, but I just couldn't seem to get it to work. And so at the age of 25, I was very frustrated, broke, nothing was working. And I decided to take my own life. I decided to commit suicide at age 25. At the very last moment, my life was spared, but I didn't know why. And so I went on another search. I went back to the library, read every book in the spiritual section. Like, what is my purpose? What am I doing here on this planet? And then finally, in 1997, I had these epiphanies and I realized exactly what was missing in all those books that I'd spent all those years reading and that no one was talking about. So that's when I decided to write my first book. It was entitled Permission to Succeed, because I realized for most people, we don't actually need more how-tos of succeed. We actually need to give ourselves permission to succeed, which is something that no one was talking about back then. And so now 24 books later, my books are now in 18 languages. You can see some back here. But yeah, that we've helped our clients add over $3 billion in new revenues using my strategies, using my formulas. And that means we've helped people add multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, even 8 figures, using my strategies. And so really that's how it started. And it happened very organically and really came from a place of frustration, because I wasn't, getting the things that I wanted in life. So I really had to write these books for myself because no one else was doing it. So, and now, a lot of other people have benefited too.
So Noah, what do you mean you need to give yourself permission to be successful?
Well, what I realized back then is that, I'd read all these books and they all say the same thing, right? They all say how to succeed. And you go to all the gurus, you go to all the seminars, they all say the same thing. You got to believe in yourself. And, I'm sitting in the back of the room back then going, but I don't believe in myself. What am I supposed to do? And of course, they never tell you anything. So I realized that, for me and for millions of people, it wasn't that we needed to just keep studying the how-tos of success. Instead, it was about getting rid of what I call your head trash about money. And that's why basically I've written 24 books on this one subject, which is getting rid of your head trash about money and, specifically. And so that was really the thing that was causing me to, as I call it, drive down the road of life with one foot on the brake. And I realized that, of course, I wasn't alone in this. There were millions of people like me, who were unconsciously holding themselves back from the level of success that we're perfectly capable of. So when I realized that, the one thing we need is to give ourselves permission to succeed and to take out that head trash that's holding us back, that means we can get our foot off the brake. And, that's one of the reasons that we've helped our clients add over $3 billion, because most of the people that, come to me for coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching, they've spent a lot of time, money, and effort going to all these seminars, but yet they're still stuck. And that's because everybody's saying the same thing, but it's not really getting to the root of the problem.
I think that's fascinating. So let's talk a little bit more about this head trash. So give us some examples. What are some of these things that are just stuck in people's minds that's holding them back?
For everybody listening to the program, if you think about what your goals are, right? So we all, as humans, we have three types of goals, three main types of goals, and that is being, doing, and having. So we have goals of being, like I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to, feel fulfilled, I want to just have peace of mind, whatever. So those are goals of being. Then we have goals of doing, right? I want to write a book. I want to go on more vacations. I want to spend more time with my family. So that's the doing goals. And then you have goals of having. I want to have a new car. I want to have a new house. I want to, have a lot of money in the bank, all of those things, right? So we humans, we all have being, doing, and having goals, right? But what's very interesting and what most people aren't aware of is that when you say, oh, okay, I want this or I have this goal, the very next thing that happens for most people is they say, but I probably can't do it. I probably can't do it because, right? Well, I want this, like people say to me, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching, they say, well, no, I want to, grow my business. I want to make more money. I want to write books like you do. I want to have online courses like you've got, but I can't do it because, and then they just fill in the blank, right? Dot, dot, dot. And they fill in the blank. Well, oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. My spouse won't let me do it. My family doesn't believe me, whatever. And what's fascinating about that is everything that you say after the word because is in fact the thing that's keeping you stuck. That's what I call your head trash. It's the very belief that is keeping you stuck. And what's fascinating, and I'll give you a quick example of this. I ask all of my clients, whether they come to me for one-on-one or group coaching, how much do you think your head trash is costing you right now? In other words, if we don't take out your head trash, how much do you think that's going to cost you over the next 12 months? Well, as an example, I was asking one of my clients this question. His name's Charles. And I asked him, how much do you think it's going to cost you if, we don't get rid of your head trash in the next 12 months? Now he'd been studying my, like watching my YouTube videos. He'd read my books. And so he's familiar with my work. And so he understood what I meant when I said that about head trash. And he said, $1,000,000. It's easily going to cost me $1,000,000, Noah, if I don't get rid of this head trash. And so I said, well, I tell you what, first of all, that's very common. People say this to me every day that, if I don't get rid of my head trash, it's easily going to cost me, 6 or 7 figures in the next 12 months because I'm holding myself back and I don't know how to get rid of it. And then the second thing, so then I said, just give me 10% of that $1,000,000 and I will find you $1,000,000 in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? Well, he goes, well, yeah, that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
Right. So he did that. So he paid me $100K, that's 10% of $1,000,000, right? So he paid me $100K to coach him one-on-one for a year. And in that year, I taught him my strategies. I showed him everything. And as it turns out, I didn't find him $1,000,000 in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him $1.8 million in just 10 months. And what was also fascinating about that is he sent me an email recently. He said, guess where I am, Noah? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. We just bought a new RV with all this money we've got, and we're taking 7 weeks off. So he said, not only do I have more money than I've ever had before, but I have more time than ever before, thanks to getting rid of my head trash, doing what you showed me.
And know what, when you say that kind of a number, right, in 12 months, 1.8 million, most people will just kind of shake their head and say, no, that's not possible. But
Right.
maybe tell us some more details. Did this individual have a business that went to the next level? Did he get a big promotion at work? Like, that's a big amount of money,
Yeah.
right?
Well, actually, and what's fascinating, if you are thinking that, guess what? That's your head trash, right? See, if you're thinking, oh, sure, or that's impossible, or, I couldn't do that. That's your head trash. You're proving my point. You're literally proving my point right there. So that's point number one. But point number two, yes. So he came to me and he was doing well in his business. He was already at 6 figures, right? So we weren't like starting from zero. But what's also very interesting is he'd spent tons of money on all these other coaches and all these other seminars and gurus. And he was doing well, but he kept hitting, as I call it, an income ceiling, right? So he couldn't break through that income ceiling no matter what he tried. I'll give you another quick example. I have a program called the 12-Week Breakthrough, where I actually help people make more in just 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months, while winning back 1 to 3 hours a day and 4 to 8 weeks per year. Because it's not just about making more money, it's also about having more time, like I was talking about. And so I had one of my clients in that program, the 12-Week Breakthrough, her name's Tamisa. She's an entrepreneur in Arizona, and she was also doing well, doing 6 figures, but couldn't break through that income ceiling. And she's a self-described seminar junkie. She was going to all these seminars. That's her words, not mine. And, run around all these seminars doing well, but couldn't break through that income ceiling. Joined my 12-week breakthrough. In the first 2 weeks, she tripled her investment in just 2 weeks of coaching with me. And we hadn't even gotten to the money part yet. She already tripled her investment in 2 weeks. So, that's an example. And that's several examples now of what can happen of, number one, how your head trash is holding you back and you're not even aware of it. And then when we get rid of your head trash, we can get hockey stick growth in your business or your life.
I know sometimes you mentioned that people are unknowingly starving themselves of success.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that was the essence of my discovery back in 1997 when I was at a seminar on eating disorders. And I realized that I was just like that person who was suffering from an eating disorder, like anorexia or bulimia, right? Those are eating disorders, which I'm sure most people are familiar with. But what's interesting was I had that realization like, well, wait a minute. I'm not starving myself of food because I eat fine. I didn't have a problem with food. But then I said, is there something else I'm starving myself of? And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was a flash of lightning, just a flash of insight. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm starving myself of success, right? So if you think about it, that, women are judged on their bodies and men are judged on their status. Now, this goes back centuries, right? This is not like the way it should be, or it's not, and it's not even right? It's totally wrong, in fact, right? That women are judged by their bodies and men are judged by their status. But that's the way it's been, since humans have been around for thousands and thousands of years. But what I'm saying is that what's fascinating is for women, what happens is that when they have this, as I call it, your head trash, in many times it manifests as an eating disorder. And what's interesting also is that for us men, it often manifests as what I call a success disorder, meaning starving yourself of success. Now, what's also interesting about that is because, of course, women are actually entering the workforce in greater numbers than men now. In fact, women are starting businesses at a greater rate than men, and that's been for the last 15, 20 years now. Women are also starving themselves of success. Right. So women are not only judged on their physical bodies, but also, as I call it, their material bodies, which means their status. So, we men usually aren't judged by our bodies, right? But usually always our status. So both men and women come to my seminars and they, hire me for coaching because they, many women say, my gosh, no, I have had an eating disorder in my life, but I realized after I read your book or I heard you speak that, my gosh, I also have a success disorder. And, that's really was the essence of my discovery. It's so funny because one of my coaching clients many, many years ago, one of my very first coaching clients, this was like 20 years ago, after I helped him double his income and double his time off in 12 weeks, literally, he said, Noah, do you realize that your coaching is the only coaching that fixes every other coaching? And I said, wow, you're right. That's a good point. Because once you fix this one problem, meaning getting rid of your head trash and stopping yourself from success, it actually fixes everything. So this is the hidden problem that millions of people don't even know they have. That is, in fact, the thing that's holding them back.
And Noah, if someone wants to work with you, tell us a little bit more about what that looks like, what it costs, how long does it take?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to breakthroughwithnoah.com. Very easy to remember. Breakthroughwithnoah.com. I'm known as the Breakthrough Coach. And when you go to breakthroughwithnoah.com, you'll see there's an 11-minute video that is like a training of a great overview of what I do. And it gives you really like the big picture of what I do and how I do it. There's dozens of success stories from my clients, people who I've helped to double and triple their income in record time. And then you can also at breakthroughwithnoah.com, you can schedule a breakthrough consultation with me or one of my coaches, and we can actually show you how we can help you, in what, for example, if you want to join my 12-week breakthrough, that's a group coaching program. And that is, where I very often help people make more in just 12 weeks than they did in the last 12 months while winning their lives back. And then, of course, we have one-on-one coaching. We also have, because so many people have asked me about, how I've written 24 books and how have I done that? And they say, no, I want to write a book, but I don't even know where to start. So we actually just recently started a book done for you service. So we actually will help you get your book done, because I truly believe that if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, an expert of any kind, a consultant, you really need to have at least one book. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have 24 like I do, but it's just something that will it will elevate you and frankly elevate your status above your competitors. Because as soon as you have a published book, you're definitely looked on as an expert. So that's why, in fact, one of my new books is called The 7-Figure Expert. But yeah, so we have the book done for you service. For example, I'll just give a quick story. One of our book done for you clients is a stem cell doctor in Nashville. And he came to me and he said, no, I've been wanting to write a book for 10 years, the last 10 years, but I don't know where to start. And I've been putting it off. And so, I heard you speak and, so anyway, he hired me for the book done for you service. We got his book done for him in 8 weeks. So he's think about that. He's thinking about it for 10 years. We got it done in 8 weeks. So, I mean, that's what happens when you have the right plan, the right tools, and the right support.
I mean, I've known people who've worked on their books for years. So getting it done in 8 weeks is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Noah, I've heard that you trademarked the word AFFORMATIONS with an O as opposed to affirmations. Tell us, what does that mean, AFFORMATIONS?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just hold up this book because it'll show the folks at home. So it's AFFORMATIONS, as you said, AFFORMATIONS, AFFORMATIONS, and you can go to AFFORMATIONS.com, learn more about that. Again, it has the O in there, AFFORMATIONS. So yeah, 26 years ago in 1997, this was another one of my epiphanies that I had. In fact, I had it in the shower, and I call it in my books, my coaching programs, the shower that changed everything, right? Because I'm sure most people listening to this program have had that, that aha moment in the shower or the bathtub. I mean, this goes back to the ancient Greeks. It's an ancient thing. For some reason, water's always involved. But anyway, everybody knows that an affirmation is a statement of something you want to be true. Like every self-help book ever written says the same thing, right? All those books that I've been reading, that story I shared earlier, every book said the same thing, right? Use these affirmations, say it in the positive, so like in my keynote presentations, I'll often have my audience members stand up and I'll say, okay, everybody, I want you to say an affirmation just like the gurus taught us. Everybody say, I am rich, right? Classic affirmation, right? And so everybody says, I am rich. And you know what happens next? Everyone starts laughing. And I go, what are you laughing at? And they go, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said you were. And they go, yeah, but I don't believe it. See, isn't that the problem with the old method, right? With the statement, we often say these positive things. We want to believe them, but we just don't believe them. So in April 1997, I was in the shower and I invented this process because I realized that the human mind actually works using questions, not statements. So rather than saying something like, I am happy, I am rich, I'm successful, and your brain goes, no, you're not, right? And then you're just trying to convince yourself of something you don't believe. What I discovered and invented is this process of affirmations, which is an empowering question. So instead of saying something like, I am rich, you ask a question. Why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask that question, there's something in the brain called the embedded presupposition factor of the brain. That's just a fancy way of saying when you ask a question, your brain searches for the answer. In fact, it does it automatically. So rather than trying to fight your brain using the old method, the affirmations method, using my affirmations method, now we're working with your brain. We're actually doing what you're already doing, which is asking and searching for answers to questions. And so that's why, using my affirmations method, a lot of people have, made a lot of money, but also found love, found their soulmate. I had one client in Germany. He started using my affirmations method. He and his wife were about to get a divorce. In fact, their divorce papers were on the desk ready to be signed. You can't get any closer to divorce than that, right? I mean, it's like, here you go. He actually heard me on a program, like a radio program or a podcast. He heard me talk about affirmations. He got my affirmations book and my audios. He shared them with his wife. They tore up the divorce papers and now they're madly in love again. So, I mean, that's just one amazing example. But so it's not just about money. It's really about your whole life.
That's powerful. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Right on. All right. So you've worked with a lot of clients. Tell us, I know we could probably talk about this for hours, but Mike, in a few minutes, what are some of the biggest tips or simplest pieces of advice that you can give people?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one is definitely write down your goals. I mean, I know you've heard that a million times, but maybe nobody told you about the being, doing, and having type of goals that I talked about earlier. So definitely write down, as many being, doing, and having goals. Shoot for at least 10 in each area, right? Just over the next 12 months. And then what I want you to do is focus on and realize what happens after you set those goals in your mind. Right. So, for example, you say, well, I want to make more money in my business. Right. I want to get to 10,000 a month or 50,000 a month or 100,000 a month. I mean, whatever your goal is. Right. But then I want you to see what happens right after you say or set that goal. Oh, I probably can't do it. Okay, why can't you do it? Oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. My spouse won't let me do it. I don't have the right connections. I don't have the right support system. I don't know where to start, right? So look at all of the head trash that you're telling yourself, and then I want you to realize that that is in fact the thing that's going to be holding you back. Now, of course, when you go to my website, if you go to noahstjohn.com, we have lots of resources. If you go to my YouTube channel, we have, over 1,000 videos that you can watch. And of course, we have books and coaching and other programs if you really want to get some help. So, I mean, what I want people to realize is that help is available. You don't have to go through the pain and torment and agony that I did. I mean, really, because it took me over 25 years to really figure all this out. And I had to, to spend over $500,000 going to gurus who can't teach their way out of a paper bag. So just get the help that you need. Again, on our website, there's free resources, there's books, there's coaching, there's lots of training available. But really, it all starts with your goals and what you think is holding you back, and realize that really we can help you get rid of your head trash. That is, in fact, the one thing that's holding you back right now.
I'll put all those links into the show notes. Tell us about your latest book, Noah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called The 7-Figure Expert. Here it is right here, The 7-Figure Expert. And the subtitle is Your Ultimate Guide to a Life of More Impact, Influence, and Financial Freedom, right? 3 things we all want, right? We all want more impact, influence, and financial freedom. So this book is free. All you have to do is go to 7figureexpertbook.com. Easy to remember. 7figureexpertbook.com. And the book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. And of course, we ship anywhere on planet Earth. So all that's available at 7figureexpertbook.com. Again, the book is free and we just ask you to cover the shipping, but really we've got tons of stories in there. And by the way, I'll just show you real quick. All of my books, if you look in there, I have lots of diagrams and, checklists and things like that. And the reason we do that is because the human mind works in pictures. And so I put lots of pictures in all of my books. I've told all my publishers, we've got to have pictures. We've got to have checklists. We've got to have step by step. And, one of the things that I love my readers say to me is, Noah, yours is the first self-help or business growth book that I ever finished. And I love that because a lot of people have a lot of what I call shelf help, right? You have a lot of books on the shelf and you never finish them. So that's one of the things that I love when my readers say that.
I love that. I'm going to remember that one. Not self-help, shelf help.
Shelf help.
It's true. It's true. A lot of people buy books they never read.
Bingo. And then it doesn't do any good, does it? I mean, it's just gathering dust on the shelf. So we don't want that.
Noah, thank you very much for your time today. It was a pleasure to speak with you. I'll put all those links into the show notes. And thanks very much.
My pleasure.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Money Seed Podcast. Please remember to click like and subscribe. It really helps spread the message to other investors and it helps attract new viewers to the show. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much.